Hi, this is the module Low-Code Apps within DataMiner Configurator Level 2. Within this module, we'll take the knowledge from the dashboards and take it to the next level. Because basically we will create multiple pages like we had one dashboard page. We'll combine it into multiple pages with a header bar and panel and actions to make it a full-blown low-code app, which is specifically built for a target audience. So we'll take a look at how to do that within this module. So first of all, we'll take a look at what those low-code apps are, and then we'll dive into creating a new one, which we basically already did during the fundamentals, but then we basically stopped and it was very basic and not a lot of features were used. So now we go a little bit more in depth on how to really build one which is useful with panels and a header bar and actions and some more content. And then we'll also take a look at the versioning and the security to wrap it up. There is an exercise, but throughout the session here, we will build as we go a decent example and do some demos while we go there. And the exercise is a little bit similar. You can do that as well then if you want. Okay, so first things first, what is a low-code app? What will we be building here? So a low-code app is basically a HTML5 application which has its dedicated name and color and icon and things like that. And it combines multiple pages with each time on each selected page the content as we created it a little bit in our dashboards module. So we brought some visualizations together with some data. That was a dashboard page. While here we can combine multiple of those pages, also add menus and submenus and side panels and add actions in there and really make it a full-blown application. The objective is that you can take the bits and pieces from the DataMiner system that are relevant for a specific target audience, bring that together into one dedicated app and expose that to that group of people. So that you can really have a tailor-made application where they can easily find their information that they need and easily tweak that in here without having to know the whole DataMiner system, which can be a lot bigger than only this section. So you can really pinpoint different apps to different teams that are using certain bits and pieces from the DataMiner system. So that really makes you have a powerful tool here to create nice and easy apps for that are easy to use for different teams in your organization. Okay, so let's dive into it and let's create a brand new low-code app in our DataMiner system. I'll immediately do that by clicking there on the plus sign if you already have some apps. If you don't have apps, like it will be in my case, there will be a short hyperlink there. So we create a new app. It brings me immediately to a new application where I can specify the name. And if I click on the icon, I can choose my own icon and I can also choose my own color. So I want to personalize it a little bit so that I can visually immediately see which applications are open here that have all their own color. The next step I will then immediately do, so we'll immediately jump into it right after this one. So we will be adding some pages there. So on the left-hand side, we can create pages. Each time you create a new page, you can also specify the name, of course, and choose an icon for each individual page to make it a little bit more graphical as well. And of course, then we can start adding content on there. Same as with dashboards, we go from visualizations and add some data on there, or we start from data and we add some visualization on there. So there we bring the data together with the visualizations. And we will immediately create a low-code app where we will already add some decent information there with some GUI. So the knowledge from the previous module will be immediately applied here on an application. Once you're ready, or you want to already expose a first version, you can publish your app to your target audience. And of course, if you want to in between already have a quick preview, you can also click on the preview icon to already look at it before you effectively publish the application. So only if you publish it, that version will then be available for the other users. As long as you don't publish it, it's only you working on that specific version, and other people don't really are worried about that draft version. We'll come back to versioning later on. All right, so let's dive into it. I'll go to my DataMiner system. So within Skyline Academy, you might have access to one of the training systems, so you can do it on there. I have access to our demo platform here, so I go to the home page, and from there I can start building an application. You can, of course, also do it on your own DataMiner system, or maybe spin up a DAS to do it on there. In this case, I don't have any apps yet, so I do have that small link there, or a button to create my very first new app on here. Okay, so yeah, I'll just create it. I'll ignore all the apps there. Previously, I went to dashboards, but now I want to build a dedicated app. And the app that I will create here is an app to manage my servers. Previously, I created like a dashboard to select one of my servers and to see some key performance indicators of that specific selected server. It will be a little bit similar, but it will be pimped to an app, you could say. So the app is, first of all, I need to give it a name. So the name new application, as suggested, is selected so that I can immediately easily change that. I'll change that to my servers. And the icon, if I click on there, I can change the icon. So you can also search. So if I search for server, let's use something like that. And you can give it a little bit a different color. So you can just pick and choose your color. Let's maybe do it a little bit darker blue. You can also go for your own custom icon if you upload an icon from here. To close this again, click on the icon again, and then it's gone again. So you can always click on your icon to go back, change your icon, or to change the color. So the icon is the icon changing and color changing. Now, then we can start adding some pages on there. There will be one page by default here with the name page. So I'm not very happy with that name. So I will give it a page name like overview, and I'll create a page. I'll create an overview, a landing page, you could say, where I show you a little bit of maybe statistics on the servers we have and things like that. And then I'll show you a second page with more details, which is basically a list of all of my servers. So I create two pages, an overview and a list of the servers. The icons are, of course, now still default, so let me change that a little bit. So the overview, let's maybe search for something like a world overview, and here have something like maybe a list kind of thing. But let me see, something like that, for instance. Okay, so to make it a little bit more distinctive, I'll create those icons there so that I can more visually see. Also important because if you close this side panel, so you can open and close this side panel to have meaningful icons for your pages you're adding there. And once you select the page, you can start adding the content. I guess we know that a little bit by the dashboards, but to make this application a little bit a decent application, I will now first add a little bit of more content to that so that we can really have a good demo or demo example at the end of our session. So the first things first is I'll add a little bit content on there like we previously added within the dashboards module. So I'll add a little bit of a header maybe as well. So in the settings, I can specify the text of maybe I should say server overview, something like that. And make that in the layout page a little bit bigger to 30, so that it's a little bit a bigger kind of like title thing. Let me add something else just to make it a little bit like I added twice, a little bit like adding content on there. So let me delete the second clock that I added. Just adding a clock there on the right hand side. And on here I want to add an overview of all my servers. So a typical thing could be that I add, for instance, how many servers I have. So how many servers do I have? A number. So if you want to visualize that, we will need to go to the queries to build a query. So that's a quick recap on the queries. Let me make sure that it's visible when I set work in this side panel all the way to the bottom there. Let's add a quick recap on the queries. So what we will do is we will do a server count. So what I will do is I will get all the elements. And well, I don't really get all the elements. I want to first filter on all the Microsoft elements because we're looking at servers here. So I filter on the column protocol. And I will say that it must be equals, and the value is Microsoft platform. And then I will do a aggregate. And I will aggregate, doesn't really matter on what you aggregate. I typically go on the ID column where I do a count. So that's, typically I immediately go for visualize whatever you have there. So drag and drop your query from server counts, you drag and drop it on there. And then you pick a visualization, which is to start with a table, for instance, to see, oh, we have 20 servers. So indeed, I have 20 servers in my system, but I want to display that not in a table like we have done GUIs before. So let's play around with some other visualizations. Grid, no, pie, no. So actually just a state might be doing the job here. The server count 20, so that's perfect. But as you know, the state thingy, I always want to make that in the layout larger so that you have a little bit nicer thing there. So you could make a nice overview page, and I have my server count on there. Also very nice for a home page would be like making a bar graph or something like that, or a pie chart or these kind of things. So let's do this one more time. Let me close my existing query that I have. I could make this query, duplicate this query to start from there, but let me make it the exact same query a little bit, but do a little bit not count of all of them, but a count grouped by severity. So it will be quite a similar query, but what I will do now is I will make it a little bit easier to follow, maybe by doing server alarm states, I will call it. Alarm states. Let me start again. And what I maybe did too fast for starting with GUI is whenever you have the get elements or you get your data source, first thing you do is just take your query and drop it already onto the canvas, make it a little bit bigger, and go for a visualization table so that you see what you are doing. So what am I doing here? Now I'm getting all the elements. So this will now just retrieve all the elements. Okay, the net insights, the Philips devices, everything is in there. So I don't want all the elements because I'm talking about servers. So let me first filter it down. So just like the previous example, I will filter on protocols. So kind of duplicating the GUI query here. Microsoft platform. So now I have all the Microsoft platforms that are going to be in there. And just before with the previous one, I basically did a count, an aggregate. Indeed, I did an aggregate and then I did a count. So let's do that once more. You need to aggregate on something. But if you aggregate, if you would aggregate and make a sum, then you need to make sure that you make the sum of the bit rates or whatever you want to make a sum of. But here we're only doing a count. So a count, I typically do that on like a unique column, like the element ID or the ID of the object you have in here. And I just do a count on there, and then I have that 20 again. So I made the exact same query again as I did before, but now I want to take it a step further, because the visualization I want to add underneath my total of number of servers is the group by, and then we need to choose the alarm state. I want to give a little bit of an overview of how many are in critical state, normal, warning, minor, major, critical. Yeah, a number of my servers are stopped, so those are undefined, and I have 5 critical, so I'm not doing a very good job. My servers are all in critical, the ones that are active. I don't want a table view here, so let's go to the visualizations and go for that column bar thing. And as you might know, I prefer to have that layout a little bit more the bottom to top, and maybe the legend doesn't need to be shown, because I'm going to add a title there on it, the alarm states overview, something like that. So you can see how many are undefined or how many are in critical state. Note the name of the component here is only shown whenever you're currently working on the edit mode. So if you want to take a look at it, go for the preview, and then if in the preview it will load the app. It's a little bit like going outside of your edit mode in the dashboard. So now you can see my overview that I created. So I added a title, the time, I have my server count there, and I have the overview, the pie chart or the bar graphs here, adding to give you a high-level overview. Okay, so looks good. I could further tweak it, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go to the next, and that is the list view that I want to add with all of my servers there. So let's go back to the editing. Maybe one final detail to make the width the same thing there. Okay. Now let's go to that lists view. And here we want to add a list. So just to make sure that we know what we are talking about, I'm adding a quick title there that is going to say that this is the lists view. So here I go for list view, something like that. Make sure that it's also at 30, for instance. So, okay. I have my header, and now underneath there I want to add some a list of all of my servers. So here I'm going to do yet another GQI, so you can see that GQI is quite useful. And I could now duplicate this by just clicking on duplicate, and then say this is the server list. But of course, this was a little bit too complicated query, because it doesn't need to aggregate the items. Let me just show it already, and that we know what we are talking about. Pick the visualization table so that we know what we currently have. So that's a good practice to each time see immediately in a table view what we are talking about. So the criticals and the undefineds, but I don't need to do that aggregation and that count on a group by alarm state. So I can just take the aggregate, click on there and remove that. And then I get all the elements which are equal to Microsoft platform. Perfectly fine. I have a good list here of all of my servers. That's exactly what I wanted, what I needed. Okay. Perfect. I created a nice example already. So let's take a look at the preview. So I have my kind of like landing page, you could say, with the overview. So overview and list is available there. So you can expand and collapse the side panel. And if I go to the list, it will show me a list view of all of my 20 servers that are on my system. Okay, looks great. So if I go back to the editing, I can now already publish this, because if I go to the home page, let me just refresh this home page. There is actually still nothing on here. Nothing is available for my users yet. That is because my application is currently in what we call a draft. And therefore this is not shown. Small detail there, if you want to see your draft, because if you closed this page and now you no longer know where it is, oops, where can I find it? Well, there's a small settings or cogwheel there next to that install DataMiner Cube, and underneath there we have the advanced option show draft applications. If I do that, you will see that I have my servers there available, and I can again navigate or I can maybe open it in a new app there. There is also another one, which is another training application from that was already on there. So think about that show drafts if you want to see what is currently in draft, what is currently being prepared, you can go there to the drafts. But now I'm already happy with the first version, the basic version that I have, so I can publish that, and that's the icon next to it. Next to the preview, I do have the publish there. So with the publish, it nicely shows you here it is. Do you already want to add maybe a description? No, I'm fine. Let's publish, and now it is available. So now if I go to the home page and refresh, I will see that, yeah, let me disable the show drafts again. So you can see my application is now there available as a solid one, not dimmed out or with a draft mark on it. It is a solid application which is available for all of my users, or at least the users that have access to it. I'll come back to security. Okay, my servers, it looks great already. I already have 2 nice pages that I have in my server app. Okay, so I'm quite happy already, but that is basically a little bit what we already discovered with the dashboards applied on the low-code apps we saw in the fundamentals. Now we want to leverage a couple of other features, and one of the things I want to do is I want to use a panel, because I want to add some of the details of one specific server in a details panel. So let's take a look at how to create panels. So on any of the pages, you had the name of the page. This is the database with an icon, and there is a panel section there. And if you can create new panels there by clicking the plus sign, and you can give it a name, and you will have again a blank page. So it's kind of exactly the same as a page which is being displayed in that sidebar, but it's only available here in that panels section because it's kind of more a details panel that is not available in here, but that will be used as a pop-up or as an overlay or a side panel coming out of the sites. So it's more if you further click down into something that a panel is being used. It's not one of the main pages. It's more like a lower level page, you could say. But all of those pages or those panels are inside this section. So you can add multiple of those panels in there. Each time you have, again, a canvas to start working on it, and you can give it a name. A panel doesn't have an icon. That is only when it's visible in the side panel. Okay, so let's take a look at that, because I will immediately create a panel in our example. So let's go back to our example. Okay, I have a high-level overview page with a count and some bar graph on my system there. And I have a list overview, but I also want to show the details of one specific server that you might select and want to see more details on there. So I'll go back to the editing mode to start working on that details panel. So I'm not going to create a new page in here, so I will forget about that. I will go to the panels section, and note that the panel section is the same for any of the pages. So if I add a panel page here, let's immediately do that, details, and let's immediately go back. So I created now a details panel here. If I go to the list view or the overview page, the panels are always the same across my complete application there. So I have that details panel that I created. So let me further dive into it. So if I click on the edit, I'm now inside that details panel. So the details panel has a name, but it doesn't have an icon. And I can just go back to the top level, you could say. And again, I can add some content on here. So I can start by adding, for instance, the name of the server that you want to take a little bit a closer look at and have some more details about. Note in the first instance, I will just link it to, as an example, to one specific element, and that is my DataMiner agent. I will just look up the element my DataMiner agent and just drop it on there. As you know, the layout, I like it large so that it's nice and visible there. And I'll add also a, let's add a GOG underneath it with the total processor load. So therefore I go to data, not elements. Remember, you can click on that icon to filter it down. So you need to go, for instance, for parameters, and then let me just hard code it for the moment. I'll come back to my more dynamic linking when we get to that. So I go to, for instance, my DataMiner agent and add the total processor load on there. You can add some more on there, for instance, physical memory as well, and it's next to each other. That's okay. Okay. I'm not going to go into more, adding more items, or maybe quickly a trend graph. That's maybe easily done, just to show something underneath it. And then we can also link it to the total processor load, because I already have the total processor load. It's nice and quick to add it. So that's a perfect details panel to start with here in the demo. Okay, so I created a details panel. And I added some more information on there. But now, how will this page be shown? Because it is not available in the side panel, and it's somewhere hidden as more details. But when will it pop up, and when will it become available? Well, it will become available when you click on certain things and do certain actions. One of the things we could do is, for instance, make it available from a header bar button or a header bar menu or a header bar action. So let's take a look at that header bar. So what I will do is I will create a header bar on our application on the server list. So I will go to the list, and next to the name and the icon of a page. So I have the name and the icon of a page. I had the panels there, but in between there we have a header bar. If you activate or open up and activate that header bar, you will be able to add a button here. You can click on the plus sign and add a whole series of buttons next to each other and have like a whole menu bar there in the header to do certain actions in there. For each item that you're in there, you can, of course, give it a name in line here, and you can also choose an icon. And most importantly is then we can attach an action on there. And that's what we want to do here. We want to add a button there, show details. And if you click on it, what kind of action do we want? Well, this configure actions shows you this pop-up. We'll immediately do it in a demo. And what do we want to do amongst the different actions? We will choose for open a panel, the panel we just created. You can choose how to open it, and you can choose the size a little bit, a couple of options there, but that's basically it. So that's how you very easily create a header bar and attach some actions to it. Let's do that in our demo. So the overview page, I won't add any header bar there. That's just a high level overview with a couple of more graphical things. It's only when you dive into the list, there I want to add some menu bar, and more specifically, if you then select one of those items, that you can click on the details to see the details there. So on this list page, I will activate. You cannot open the header bar unless you activate it. And if you activate it, it opens up and it says create a button first. Indeed, there you see it highlighted. Oh, indeed, I need to start adding a button there, and I can immediately give it a name, show details. Show details. And you can add more of those buttons. So you can like add a whole series. And one of the things you can, let me just delete this one again. What you can also do is, which is kind of cool, so also the name you can specify here, is make it a drop down. So, and then if you enable this little toggle next to it, you make it a drop down, which basically allows you to make submenus and make like a whole file menu or view menu with lots of items underneath there. So then you can start adding those items and add more underneath that. So be aware, you can add lots of buttons next to each other, also underneath each other. And on top of that, you can also add buttons on the right-hand side. So sometimes it's more useful to have it more like on the right-hand side if it's like a close of a pop-up. Also, pop-up panels can have those header bars, of course. You can play with it, of course, but we will just go for a single one. We add show details, and you can also choose an icon for it. So maybe something like that with the details, magnifying glass. So show details of one selected server there, and then we need to go and attach something, an event to it. So we need to configure in the on click some actions. Now the magic happens where we can make our panel appear. So currently it's doing nothing, which is not a lot. So we want to take a certain action. So from the actions, you have a whole series of things. For now, we just go for the open panel. Let's not worry about the others for now. So we go for open panel. And we select our panel. We only have one, our details panel, so that's quite easy. So we open the details panel. You can go for in a pop-up or on the left-hand side or on the right-hand side. It kind of slides in. I'll go for a pop-up, which is fine. 30%, maybe make that a little bit bigger to a 60%. And if it's draggable or as overlay, so you can play around with the modes, but as overlay is good. If you click next to it, it disappears again. Upon completion, you can do some more actions after each other, but we're not going to do that now. We're just clicking open, and that's it. And we want to test it out. So let's do a little preview. So let's go for the preview, and let's go to the details. And if we go and click on show details, it indeed shows me that pop-up page and shows me for my DataMiner agent the details. That's great. That's fantastic. That's what I wanted. If you just click next to it, it closes again. So I can click on show details and it loads me the details of the hard-coded my DataMiner agent still. So we still need to tweak that. So now we created the panel and we linked it to that button. So let's take a look at some more actions that are available there. So I kind of ignored all the other actions that are there, but be aware that there are a lot of other more other actions available, like launching a script, so you can kind of executing everything in the DataMiner system, navigate to URL, open another page, open a panel like we did, close a panel could also be, if you click a close button, that it closes the panel, all the panels opening another app, or execute a component action. That's also an interesting one. Because if you have, like, for instance, a trend graph or a booking window and you want to put a button there, last 24 hours or last week or last month, if you click on those buttons, then you can execute a component, an action on a component and set, for instance, the viewport of a line or area chart to a certain window. So if you go for last 24 hours, it shows you last 24 hours on that trend graph. So you can also basically have buttons linked to specific actions that you want to be executed on those components that are visible there. So many actions to play with. I'll add another button in just a second. And there is also a possibility to start actions from a component, like a button. I will add a button. If you click on a button, you want to do something. For this list, and I'll do that on my list as well. If you select an item, you can also do on double click a certain action. So it might be convenient if you kind of like intuitively double click on one of those servers, that it also opens up the same panel. I want to play around with that and take a look at how that works. So currently I only have the panel linked to the show details. So if I click on show details, it shows me the panel. Okay, that's already a start, but let's make it a little bit different by also, for instance, first of all, while we still think about it, take that list and go and check out the settings of that list and see indeed on that list we have an on double click action there. So we have the possibility to say on double click of a server, I want to do certain things. What do I want to do? Same thing. I want to, as previously, I want to open up the details panel in a pop-up with a 60% width. Perfectly fine. All right. Now, if I double click on that, I will immediately test it as well in a demo. But I want to, in meantime, immediately add yet another one. And here we have a button. So let's drag and drop a button there next to my header bar, for instance, because I also want a button there. And let's select this button and have the label. I'll use the same as in the, I already have it in the header bar, but I just want to show you that you can also add it in one of those buttons. You can also add an icon inside the button if you would like to do that, but I'm not going to do that now. And of course, I need to have that action also. Here it's an on click, not an on double click. So if I click on the button, I want to do yet again the same action. Go and open up a panel, the details panel in a pop-up, 30%. I'm going to change that to 60%. Okay. And I want to try that out by doing a little preview and taking a look at my details panel. So previously I was only able to click on the show details in the header bar. Now I will click on the button show details, and there I have also a possibility to immediately access that pop-up. I click next to it so that it closes. Let me take one of those items in here and double click on it, and it opens up also the details. So now I have 3 ways to open up that panel by using the header bar, using a button, or using a double click. Perfectly fine. I think I already have a great application here, but there's still one fundamental problem here, and that is if I go to the details panel of one specific server, it still shows my hard-coded my DataMiner agent. So I still need to fix one thing, and that is making that panel dynamically linked to the selected item in here. Well, if you kind of remember how that worked with the dashboards, it's the similar way. So let me first go to the details panel. And let's take a look at, let's just take the header bar, the My DataMiner agent component for now. If I click on the data, it's currently linked hard-coded to one specific element. Let me delete that one. And where can I link it to? So if I select something else, or if I no longer select this, can I no longer select this? Yes. So you can see all the available data is now all highlighted. But if I select my component and if I select on the button there, which is for selecting the data, it will highlight which items can be selected. Just before I was hard-coded linked it hard-coded to one specific element. I will now look to link it to another component. Remember that we did that during the previous module with dashboards as well. We linked it to a drop-down, but we can also link it to another selection, and that's what I want to do here. Now, there is one thing you need to know. This table is available here, the table 2. If it's not available, let me go back to that, to the lists. You need to make sure this is my table 2, so you can see this list is my table 2. You need to make sure that at least one of those items is selected. If none is selected, if you have never selected here an item, your table 2 will not become available as a source. So keep that in mind. Just make sure if you go to your details panel and you don't have your table available, go back to your table, select an item here, and then it will be available. So let's go back to my details panel. I select the data. I go to the components, and underneath the list I should find my table, and underneath my table I have the selected element and I can drop it on there. I can do the same thing for those items. So let me just quickly do that as well. So I remove the current items, and remember that I need to not hardcode link it to an element, but I need to go for protocol and select the Microsoft platform production. And now I need to select that total processor load. And let's also add the physical memory usage. So no longer from one specific element, but more from the protocol. And then with a filter, I need to add from the components in the lists that selected element there on top of that to filter it out. And just to make sure that you believe me, I will also show the element name in those components. So this server is not active, so we will need to select another server. And just as a recap, let me do it on the last one as well. So I go for data and unlink it again, my trend graph. So I link my trend graph to a parameter from a protocol Microsoft platform. I take the total processor loads, I drop it on there, and then I also link it to the components, the lists, the selected row, the selected element. I filter that on there, so the selected element will also be applied on there. Now let's take a look at that in a preview, and let's see if that effectively works. Because it was still linked to a stopped element, let's try to find a element which is started. So I go to my list view, I select an element. Let's start with the, maybe I should have sorted it, or I can sort it myself. So my DataMiner agent, let's go for my DataMiner agent and let's show details. So I should have still made it big. My DataMiner agent is showing here as critical the current processor loads, and the physical memory of my DataMiner agent is here. Seems to work. Let's double check. If I take Microsoft Server 01, I can double click on it. Does it show me the details of that server? Yes, Microsoft Server 01 is there, and the total processor load of 01 is there as well, and also the trend graph. So now, indeed, if I select a specific server, let me test the bar graph, or the bar as well there, that button, and I have those details in there as well. Microsoft Server 01. So each time it works perfectly. There's still one thing bothering me. If I go back to that details panel, I always wanted the larger view. So let's add this one. Select the first item and go for the large. And now I can publish my app and I can take a look at it. So now it's available on the homepage. Let me refresh the homepage. No longer in draft, my servers is available. I have the overview with some key indicators of how my system is doing. I have 5 of them critical. So let's dive into the details panel or the list view. And whenever I am in the list view, I can, for instance, I could maybe sort it by default on the ones that are active and maybe the ones that are critical on top. But let me just take one of the servers here, the My DataMiner agent. I have 3 different ways to show the details. Let me click on the button, show details. My DataMiner agent is showing the details. I can select another server, or let me take this one, show the details, and I have the other server showing details. Looks like a great app. I'm actually quite happy with my first app here that is available, and I can start giving that to other people. So before I give that to other people, a small word on the versioning, because I have been playing with it and publishing that a couple of times. If I suddenly make a mistake, or if I'm not happy and I want to go back to something of the day before because people suddenly complain that it's not correct anymore, or that my new version is worse or whatever, I can easily go back to another version by in the upper right hand side clicking on the 3 dots there. You do have that menu, and the first item there is versions. So if you go to versions, you will see in a side panel all the different versions you have created. And I'm currently here at this one. That's the one that is selected. And I can just open up any of them to start working on it again. And now I have a draft here, which is not yet published. So let's take a look at that in my app. So my server app, I can further edit it, but I want to take a look at the versions. So I click on the dots, go to versions, and I will see I already clicked twice on versions. So if I would create a, let's say a brand new one now, or let's say I make a new version where I maybe change the clock a little bit, I'm not publishing that. I just closed this, for instance. So now if I go to servers again, and yesterday I was working on that, I can further pick up that draft by going to versions once again. So if this is loading here, I can go to the three dots and I can open up the versions panel, and then I will see all of my versions, but I will also see that draft that is currently being editing. So let me close again this one. So I'm still on the published version with the small clock. If I go to that versions and I go to the draft version, you will now see I'm selecting the draft version. This is with the big clock. And I can further go into the editing again and I say like, oh yeah, now it's good. And now I can publish this one, publish. And now this version is going to be the new published version. And I now already have three items published, three versions published. And if I want, I can always go back to the previous version with the smaller clock if I would like to do so. So those versions easily allow you to already build on a draft version without making it already available. And if you made something available, to quickly go back to an earlier version as well. Very powerful versioning on our low-code apps, which gives me a lot of flexibility and some peace of mind to start working on that without bothering the users that I'm working on a draft. And if I publish something, to easily go back. Final item is security. If I publish this, I need to make sure, of course, that the correct people have access. By default, you have everyone being possible to change and edit your low-code app as well. So that's maybe not ideal. So therefore, take a look at your settings and tweak them a little bit if necessary. So let's go to settings and take a look at that. So by default, everyone is editor. I don't really like that. So let me add myself and maybe add also some administrators there as editors, so that some other people can also back me up if I'm on holiday, for instance. And everyone, sorry, but only viewing access, that will be sufficient. So everybody can access that, but I'm the owner, I'll be editing it, and some other administrators also have access. So that might be a more solid security profile for this app. I'm not applying it because that's not really relevant on this demo app. So that was also security, that you can then define this to make sure that the correct people have access, and now start distributing that so that your target audience have access and they can start leveraging your nicely built app. The exercise is a little bit the same thing, so it's nicely written out here. It's a little bit similar as we already created during the demonstration here, or during the module. There is a list of items also, or elements. It's Philips elements, a little bit similar, with also a details panel there, and some pop-up, etc. So you can play around with those written out exercise here. It's a similar thing. Or you can, of course, also review this video and do it once more together with me. So you can see the power of those low-code apps. It really allows you to build tailor-made applications for a target audience, very easy to use, things that don't really need a lot of explanation. It just explains itself because it's really purpose-made. You can really build very extensive applications. We have on our Zine platform a lot of applications with a lot of demos. So I've explained you that the Zine system is available for everybody. So you can find it in our docs as well. So you can also play around with some examples on there to get a little bit more inspired. I hope you enjoyed this session and see you in the next one.